Yeah, hello all. So in this class, we are going to be learn what are the required other domain constraints we are going to be showcased, such as primary key and foreign key. So till now we have discussed only for the unique key and check and also the default and ordinal. So let's go and check out how does the primary key and foreign key is going to be useful in the SQL. So the primary key, the basic idea of the primary key is to enhance your table. Suppose I have a table. So let's take this table, course ID and course name, and also the some columns with regarding that. So I have a table consist of some columns and different columns to showcase. I would suggest course ID must be unique, and also it cannot be not null. It cannot be not null. So if I have these two constraint statement in my table, I will call this as a primary key. I will call this as a primary key. So why we are going to be learn primary keys and why we are not taking the other columns as a primary key? Suppose we have a constraint to satisfy with any column with regarding the primary key to match these two constraints. I have another column or another database or another table which consists of some program ID, course ID, and instructor ID. So I have three different columns. When I see course ID is also present in this table T2. So this is a T1 table. This is a T2 table. What if I need to get instruction ID by using the course name they will going to develop? So I need to understand who will going to teach, but for basic finance. So at the time I need to join these T1 and T2 tables I need to join. Further, you can join by using the primary key what we had. Primary key what we had. So for joining primary key is very important. It may not be null and also the must be having the unique records for all the cases. Let's go and check out what are the similar kind of the advantages and disadvantage with respect to the primary key, where it's going to be works out, where it's not going to be works out. How does that going to be looks like as a syntax wise in your SQL. So typically what will happen, the primary key consists of set of the columns whose null values are going to be uniquely identified in the each and every row in the table. So the primary key also consists of two or more columns, is also known as composite primary key. And if you go and see this some of the tables with respect to join, maybe whenever you want to define any primary key, so this is the basic syntax I would say. Creating a table, some project is a table, project ID, project name, start date, end date. The project ID, I need to have a primary key. I need to use this project ID to join with the other table. So at the time I will realize this is the must be unique, and also the not values are not null at the time of I use it as a primary key. You can also specify by using the not null. This is also fine in the time you will going to be realize that. And what will happen if you're going to be create with respect to the primary key? You can also use defining by the constraint. So constraint PKID, primary key ID, primary key project ID. So this is also fine by giving a name assigning to the prime. You can also add the primary key recording definition to make the project ID column as a primary key of the project table, whatever the project table you're going to be specified. Yeah, you can use the constraint. This is also very helpful at the time you want to be declared with the creating the table. It's going to be very helpful to promote your column, project ID column. So creating a table project assignment. So I'm just creating the project assignment table. What will happen with respect to this table? I'm just assigning the PK assign for the name of the primary key for project ID and also the employee ID. So this is a composite primary key, I would say. So in this composite primary key, what will happen? Because you defined as a primary key consists of the two columns. One is a project ID and another one is the employee ID. You must use the primary key as a table constraint at the time you're going to be use these two. And then what will happen, adding any primary key to the alter table. So this is also very helpful, I would say. And you have to define by using the where you are going to be alter your primary key, which column you're going to be alter your column. So for example, in this case, what will happen, it creates a project milestone as a table name without a primary key. The project milestone stores the milestone of the project names. So I need to understand how does it going to be helpful. I need to alter it somehow. So I am altering table project milestone table with consist of pk milestones id. Okay, pk milestones id, I need to make it as a primary key. So for that, I just add a constraint for the pk milestone id for the primary key along with the milestone id. So you can also skip this constraint. This is also fine. You don't want to be specified a constraint and again, and also specifying with the name for the constraint. We just now discussed with respect to the unique and also the not null and some of the different classes. You can also skip the constraint. That is also very helpful. And also removing any primary key you already have a primary key in your database, you want to be remove that, so you can directly use a drop is very helpful to alter your table to remove any primary constraint columns. You specifically consist of any primary key constraint, that is also fine, but specifically not mention any primary key, that is also fine. So constraint with respect to the primary key id, tree milestone idea or the name consists with respect to the primary key concept, that is also you can work on with it. I would say this is very helpful whenever joining with some of the other conditions with the primary key. So next we are going to be learn foreign key. So foreign key is basically tells about you have a keys. Okay, some, I mean, you have a keys, primary keys you had. How does that going to be helpful to group, or you can say is a column or a group that going to be enhanced or enforces a link between the data in two tables? Such cases we can call that we use as a foreign key. So first table is going to be referred as some table.